Vikingon och frägdar dåd om det är denne sången. Ut och storr da dette hent, og Håkon han var kongen. Kongen satt i holm og gard, og hadde ikke mange menn. Stilt så leika viljene, ut med holma strønden. Ser då kongen sende mann ut med dei yste båar. Mange skip med stripe segl og inna fjord dei roar. Skjott så samlast kongens menn, for ufred ikke dølges kan.
Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade as we finally dive into the Varangian Guards. Yeah, okay, we're quite late on this one, even by my standards, but we got slightly distracted with work and things, so here we are, finally getting around to actually playing them. And yeah, I'm slightly disappointed with them. They seem quite difficult to really get to work well. And that seems to generally be the consensus of the community. I did a bit of reading around on them, and most people seem to be relatively struggling with them. Few people seem to be getting on better with them, and kudos to you if you can, but for me, I'm really kind of struggling to really find them better than equivalent tier 5 units. It's not to say they can't work and they don't have their moments, but for a tier 5 unit with what a leadership cost of 305 points, and this is probably reduced because it's actually a season 12 unit, so it's essentially a 315 leadership cost unit, it seems to struggle. There's a bit of debate going on around best veterancy lines. Some people tend to be going along the bottom line as kind of a viable option, top and bottom. I kind of went top and the bottom side of the middle. I think kind of both lines are viable. There's a few options here depending on how you want to play them. I was trying to combine a reasonable amount of defense with some offensive capability. They don't seem to really tank damage very well. They go down pretty quickly, and I don't think adding in a little bit of extra defense at the bottom line is really going to change that radically, so I thought we might as well at least get a bit of damage in before we die. They are only a 16-man unit, so same as a unit of Iron Reapers, but they do get 17,000 hit points. It just doesn't feel like it. But in terms of unit mechanics, I suppose they are quite an interesting unit. So how do they work? Now, essentially, in normal mode, so in sword mode, you have one ability, which is just this unbreakable stance, which basically reduces the amount of damage that they take, and then when they get hit, they get increased damage reduction as well. But they also, as a sort of consequence of that, they move slower and their attack speed is pretty radically reduced. So it's kind of a bit of a mixed blessing. They do make a relatively tanky shield wall when they're in the shield formation, but it's not tankier than something like Grey Hairs or Imperial Shield, so they don't really win. They're not better than other units in that sense, but they do at least have a relatively tough shield. Now, as they get hit, or the shields get hit and they take incoming damage, they work a lot like berserkers. They build up rage, for want of a better word, and once your rage bar reaches 100% or full, you can activate axe mode. So they pull out their two-handed axes, and actually as they pull out their axes, they do sort of an attack animation, so you get sort of a hits in that, plus they get increased AP and damage. And then you get 3 rage abilities, which you have to use in turn. So this is the first one, this is your second one, and then this is your third one. All of which give you CC immunity, which is really nice, and do a decent-ish amount of damage, but nothing crazy. They can take down a bit of stuff, but we're not talking sort of berserker level of damage here, at least in my kind of experience. If they are below 50% health, they get a little bit of healing, and they do more damage. So that can kind of keep you up. But obviously you've got a 2-second gap, or you're not compelled to have the 2-second gap, but you're trying to keep that 2-second gap between using each of these 3 abilities because you want the CC immunity to stay up. So that's kind of basically how the unit works in terms of the abilities that it has. Doctrines wise, I'm running them with a few different things. So we've got the 5% damage reduction from the quest line. So if you do the seasonal specific quests, you're going to be getting that. I have for the time being taken the Varangian Shatter Shield's damage off. I kind of was tempted to replace that with this though, to swap those over. I'm kind of not sure. A bit of Ironsides to try and give them that little bit of extra tank. Obviously a Siege Fighter and a Breakthrough Doctrine because it's just increasing the base damage so significantly there. Other than that, I think we probably won't waffle on too long, so let's just hop into some battles with them and kind of talk through some of the problems I've been having with them. Why am I not enjoying them very much? Most of my games with them go something like this. Sort of pushing up the siege tower, they rapidly build their rage once they get into combat, get them straight into axe mode, get the Ironsides on, I'm trying to push them in. We do have flames in support, and we're predominantly against tier 4 and tier 3 units here. But we just go down so quickly. Yes, we do get some kills, we even grab ourselves a hero kill. And I suppose arguably, you know, we are trying to push into a fight, you're always going to be taking casualties, but if I'd been using a unit of Iron Reapers here, I think I would have got more kills and the bulk of the Iron Reapers would have still been alive. As I get a little bit too deep and get myself killed. It just seems to be most of my engagements with them. I don't really get very many long games with them. This is kind of just one example I had. Trying to use them initially almost as like a shield unit in front of these Fortebraccios. Essentially to try and build up the rage with them and then, you know, kind of help protect the Fortebraccios, kind of manoeuvre them around. But you can see they're actually building the rage here as these imp pikes push into them. They do a relatively good job. So long as they don't get the initial knockback, then they hold up okay. I hold them initially and put them then into axe mode, and we do deal with the imp pikes not too badly. Don't really get many kills for it. Push into some berserkers, and you can see the sort of damage we get against the berserkers. Obviously, berserkers are kind of really strong at the moment, so arguably that's more their strength than the Varangians' weakness, but be able to deal with them, and I send the unit back onto the supply point while I try and deal with this annoying little musket on them on the A point. Get off, go away, leave me alone. As the unit's sort of healing up, we actually start to get pushed on the B point, so calling the unit over to me. I was just going to go straight to the point, but I thought we'll go through this little side bit here since there's a better chance of getting in. Got some enemy shields on point, just push the unit straight in, because there's also Pavis on there. I've still got some axe up, so we just go straight in with the hero kill. Pick ourselves up some kills, get another 10 or 15 so unit kills, wipe out the shield units quite convincingly, and then push on and grab ourselves a couple of hero kills. So in those sort of one-on-one fights, you know, you can kind of win, but again, tier 5 unit should fairly convincingly win. Anything like Iron Reapers, Sealadars, Madao would all sort of smack in that sort of situation. And remember, I had already got my rage up. I was already in axe mode when I got into that fight, so it even gave me an advantage. A lot of the time, you're going in, you know, without the rage pre-built. Never managed to hit that surf. Without the rage pre-built, and therefore, you know, you're already starting at a disadvantage. You can't get that burst damage straight from the off. And so you're sort of stuck in this sort of hybrid unit mode where they can sort of block, but they're not great at that. And they can sort of do a bit of burst damage, but they're not really great at that. I guess the closest comparison is probably the Shield Maidens. At least that's kind of what I would say. They're sort of that hybrid block damage unit. And I think Shield Maidens are, again, a unit that have really struggled traditionally to really be that effective. In this case, they do work quite well against this cavalry. I try and block a lot of the cav with my Lockable Strike. Then we get into axe mode and we go to town a little bit on some of these Keshiks. And actually, it doesn't do too badly. I get my camera a little bit caught up in the palisade next to me, but actually could have been worse. They blocked a lot of the damage while they're in the shield mode, and we were able to sort of trap a lot of that cavalry. And, you know, for the leadership cost there, well worth it. It gets us over 30 kills, a little bit of extra damage. So they can have their moments. But again, so can many other tier 5 units, and I think that's probably the biggest problem. We do start to get pushed pretty hard on the A point here. Try and get a little bit in with a hero. Realise that that's immediately a game that I don't really want to be playing. And then, charging Shield Maidens, run away! Oh, we just get stopped in time. So we're fighting a little bit of a rear guard here now. I'm kind of aware we're not going to be getting back to save that A point, and there it goes, it collapses. Grab my horse. I can see on the minimap, look, they're already starting to push troops up to the C point. So, going to be wanting to get my unit out, see if we can get out of here alive, and I think we'll be doing fairly well at that. Got a little bit of rage built up, about a third, but obviously you do have to get the unit to full rage before you can actually make use of them in axe mode. So, that's something you've got to bear in mind. Pull the unit round, pull straight down onto the C point since we're starting to be pushed by, well, some condos here, as well as some other stuff. Looks like we've got some, is that some palace guards coming up the stairs? Yep, looks like it. They're going to charge straight into me. Pull the unit in, I put them into the defensive mode and just leave them in loose formation until they get enough rage to go into axe mode, and then we start to go to work. And they do perform relatively well here. They pick up quite a few kills. I almost get myself killed. Up 50, 60 kills. Nice, and that's a little bit better before they then run out and they go back into the normal shield mode. So they do have their moments in that sort of fighting fairly clumped up group of enemies there at the top of a choke point where there's not sort of an overwhelming amount of stuff pushing. They did okay there. I wasn't too disappointed with that as an engagement. But I pull them back, throw them over onto the supply point because they do need a bit more healing. And obviously with them only being 16 of them, you do end up running out of units rather quickly. Once I get them healed up, we do end up losing the C point. Pull them on to try and get this poor little shield short sword who got stuck in there, but we only didn't get the assist, not the kill. We push up, we have a few berserkers there, almost get hit by the treb, let's take a little bit of damage from it. I decided that we're not going to be able to take C realistically, but we can try and grab a few little extra kills pushing in here. So we go into here, go on with our Ironsides, get stuck in, get into axe mode, pick up a few extra kills and a little bit of extra damage against these palace guards, but the team's really got the momentum here, so we can push through fairly convincingly without it being too much of a problem. Looks like there was quite a bit of stuff down there, so I didn't really fancy getting stuck into that. So I start to pull the unit back up onto the final point. We actually get some Chevaliers coming up. I decided to go for the fight. I'm in axe mode. I just decided to get stuck in, try and pin some down with Lock of a Strike, go on with some of my axe abilities. Actually, they do a chunk of damage, but I slightly underestimate how much damage those Chevaliers will do to me and get myself killed. But we do get ourselves 75 unit kills and a good handful of hero kills with the unit as well, so you can have half decent games with them, but it is a bit of a struggle. So, is this unit going to be worth unlocking? I think the short answer to this, for me at least, is no. I'm sure some people are going to be able to make this unit work, but I've kind of been struggling quite a lot with them, and it does seem to be the general consensus that they're not really in the greatest position at the moment. I think it's not unlikely that we will get a buff to them again at some point soon. We've seen some sort of bug fixes and changes with them already, and more changes and updates coming forwards is probably quite likely. But I think I personally would wait for that before you really sort of push into at least spending any money unlocking them, because I certainly don't think you're going to be all that impressed with them. They do occasionally have their moments, they can push okay, and you do seem to get a consistent baseline amount of kills with them, but they are a tier 5 unit, and for me that's what really kills it. If they were tier 4 and we were looking at sort of, you know, the low 200s on the leadership level, I think this would be a unit that's a lot more worthwhile. But it's not. They are what they are, and I don't think they're really all that great for their leadership cost. I think, again, feels a lot like Shield Maidens when they were first released. They've obviously since undergone reworks and made them a lot more of a viable unit. But yeah, that's what these guys feel like to me at the moment. Anyway, hopefully you found the video still vaguely enjoyable. If you have, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe to the channel for some slightly sporadic Conqueror's Blade content. And I shall see you guys all on the next video.